All right. Welcome, everyone, to episode 14 of the StarCraft 2 Weekly Line Live. I'm your host, Ace, and today I am joined by itspch and DaveTestaSC. Say hello to everyone. How you all doing?
Oh, hello.
So for anybody who doesn't know you folks, Dave, why don't you introduce yourself first? What do you do? How should people know you? And where can they find your channel?
Um, Basically, you can find me on most things as DaveTestaSC, Twitch, YouTube. No, Twitter's DaveTestaSC on Soup Live and Kick, and wherever I stream is wherever. And these days I do a bunch of everything because the patch. Well, no, I'm starting to anyway. But I don't do as much. But it usually, I guess, would be more known for casting tournaments and hosting tournaments for StarCraft 2, and former ESL and DreamHack caster, but in 100% absolute filthy degen player on the ladder.
All right, just the way I like it. All right, and it's BCH. How would people know you? Where can they find you? What's your channel?
Hey everyone, it's BCH. I'm just a small-time StarCraft 2 streamer. Sometimes other games like World of Warcraft or Project Zomboid, but it's mostly StarCraft 2. On social media, it's usually it's PCH or it's PCH_. X, Twitch, Kick, you name it. Instagram, TikTok, I'm all there. I've been playing the game since 2010, like a lot of people here, I imagine, and excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you here as well. And I think it's also worth mentioning that you did something pretty similar with a SC2 talk show a couple years ago, I believe.
Yeah, I had a podcast called Grassroots StarCraft 2. It was, I think, from 2021 or 2022 to 2023. Actually, we had an episode with Dave. That was the longest episode. It was 3 hours long. It was a great time. And I'm happy to be on that show because it reminds me of the show I did. And it's interesting to be a guest on the show rather than the host. I think it's a different perspective.
Yeah, totally. And I'm really glad to have you on as well because you were doing that in the past. And Gamer Richie had mentioned that to me when I was talking to him on the show. He was saying that I should have you on. So I'm glad we were able to do that. And then you mentioning Dave just like remind me like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to message Dave. So I'm glad we got in touch and we're able to put this together. All right, so I think, well, first I should mention, as I always do, I set the show up because I always enjoy like open and honest conversations about balance, and I just feel like sometimes it's a little hard to find in the community, so I'm trying to do my small part to change that with the show. If you enjoy, give a like or subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. And this week, we had no new changes to the patch or anything like that, but we did have some time to play the game a little bit more and see some tournaments and things like that starting up, see some pros play on the patch. And we've also had some new discoveries that have been circulating around Reddit, which we're gonna dive into as well. But I think first, why don't we just start with talking about Terran? How do we feel about Terran? Are they okay? How do we feel about TVP and TVZ? I was looking at Zaun versus Zaun versus Bjorn recently. And it was like a little bit scary because it was that same sort of gateway man situation with like 7 to 9 base Protoss versus like 4 base Terran. And that was a little bit scary. But then on the flip side, Bjorn himself said after the game that he threw the game because he tried to kill Zaun's Nexus with a timing. Didn't kill it. It had like 12 life left or something like that. Then he comes back with more units, tries to kill it again, and doesn't get it. So he kind of says he threw the game there, so I don't know. I just thought that would be an interesting place to start because there's been a lot of conversation about that on the previous patch.
Yeah, I feel like Dave, you have a better perspective because you play Terran a lot more here.
Yeah, I play Terran and Protoss, so now, which is I never thought I'd say that, but oh my god, I also never thought I'd install League of Legends. I've still not played it, so don't worry, guys. There's still hope for me yet.
There's still hope.
yeah, but honestly, how I feel, and from observing, and I do read between the wine chambers of myself and watching like Special lately and Percival and whatever, I feel like right now it's a lot of this stuff comes down to the feel of the game. We're not quite there, but in the conversation, I know all around in general. But I will say TVP, yeah, there's a stronger early game for Protoss, and a lot of people were really whining about it. But when I played Terran, I'm like, TVP feels not that bad. Like, if Beyond made a mistake, like, hear me out. The Widow Mine is reverted in damage, so you can get a shit ton of damage on Pros. So on both sides of the coin, I'm like, holy shit, I played a PVT, and I was like just a little off, and I'm like, it's so easy to identify the fucking alert now when you're playing Protoss. But you make that mistake, I forgot the pain of Widow Mines.
It's,
like I'm
it's
like
crazy. Yeah.
But and so on both sides of it at the same time, Terran has to deal with one gate proxies like Proxy Void Ray, Proxy Robo. Proxy Gate, I feel like is figured out a little more, where it's, you're doing like the max pack. Like the max packs is legit. The OG max packs, the one gate into a Stargate, is actually a really good build too that I haven't seen too many pros do lately, but it actually is decent. Aside from that, like, I don't really, I honestly feel like even with the Ghost nerf, it's not. Terrans are whining. I'm sorry, brothers. You got some stuff to deal with. I agree that there's some stronger things, but I think Terran and Protoss have a hard time right now on both sides. And the matchup feels a little different, but it doesn't feel like stupidly imbalanced to me. I will say the Storm nerf is kind of sucks, and there are timing attacks, but I mean, like, it's par for the course. Terran has to deal with the early game. Protoss has to deal with potentially where it used to be. I do kind of like that it did push the mid game for Terran feeling stronger.
Yeah.
Honestly, I do like that, because with last patch it was like, what the fuck? Why is it you have to sit to the late game? It just felt like as a Terran and turtle, but then you're like, okay, as long as I don't throw, you have to endlessly hold a million base Protoss, and then you're like, okay, now I'm OP as shit. You know what I'm saying? But which wasn't fun. Like, I mean, I ended up enjoying it after, because I got used to it, though. You know what I mean? It's like at least it was still 12 workers, your build order, I'm old. I don't want to relearn a freaking wheel that's been chiseled into. It's like they took the wheel and they just took out like little like cheese slices out of it. This is the new wheel, guys. It's better, but that's how I feel like that.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a massive like change in the TVP matchup. I haven't been watching as many pro matchups, like I was talking with Ace earlier, but I totally agree with Dave. Like, I feel like there's quirkiness on both sides as the Terran player, as the Protoss player in the matchup. Like, I'm taking a look at the 5.0.16 hotfix patch notes right now, and to me, like, each of these two recent patches, it's like, what were they trying to address, right? So, like, I'm reading Terran, Widow Mine lock-on time reduced from 1.07 to 0.85, and I feel like the pros, like, they could dodge Widow Mine shots with their Oracle. Like, an Oracle could get out, but pretty much now, I watch a lot of Hupsaya, and he was saying, and he's like a, top 16 GM in North America. He's saying if that line, you see that line on your Oracle, it's done. Like, there's no going back and trying to like instantly react and save the Oracle. And then, like, from the Protoss perspective, it's kind of similar thing. It's like, why did they change the Adept pre-gate build time? Why was it increased from 30 to 33? And same with Reaper. Like, and I don't know if you guys saw, like, when the hotfix patch notes came out, there was actually a typo on the website. They initially wrote Reaper build time increased from 30 to 32.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so they had a typo where, like, the actual initial build time for Reaper was 32, and they changed it to 34, but the typo was 30 to 32. It was a silly little typo, but like the community picks up on that very quickly. And
I mean, at the same time, I'll even, like, it's more of a keck W for me, but I'm like, a typo is a typo, and yes, it's, you release stuff, but I'm like, I'll take a typo when they actually have patch changes, though. When we wait like a whole freaking year, eventually they'll fix it in the next month. But it's fun to break their balls about it, for sure.
Yeah,
you're like, but it's a pretty significant typo, though. Like, sometimes you're like, well, you wrote this, you go to do it, and you're like, actually, this is kind of not the case.
And to me, like, a lot of people meme that, like, these patches are AI generated or like AI created, whatever, and something like that almost seems like it, where like it's called hallucination. When you're using AI and AI gives you an answer that's incorrect, but it believes it's correct, it's called a hallucination. And so that's a possibility here, right? Is like AI assisted in building this, and then it thought it was, 30 or 32, and when it was actually 32 to 34. So, but yeah, I don't think there's back to
I think
TVP. I don't
it's
think there's any
highly
major
unlikely.
things.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
possible. Like, I don't know. I think it's highly unlikely just because of how the editor works and how like integrating that with AI would be difficult. But like, this is a layer of the editor that does use like actual just raw code, not just like
Yeah.
things in the editor, right? So AI would be able to code that, and there is sort of an increased possibility of that because this is Microsoft we're talking about, even though we want to think it's Blizzard. They're actually owned by Microsoft now. And Microsoft has currently a mandate in all of their departments for their employees to use AI in their work. So it
yeah,
is possible, but I don't know. If I'm being perfectly honest, like I don't think that this is the result of AI. I think it was just a typo and somebody being like, we buffed the Reaper build time and the Adept build time, or sorry, we nerfed it by 2 seconds. We increased it by 2 seconds, but they didn't know what the original time was, so they just like got confused. So it was like, oh, it's not 30 to 32, it's 32 to 34. I don't know. I see that as a pretty easy mistake to make.
yeah. I think that's fair, and I think you're correct on that. If we really knew the answer to that, which we'll never know, and I think that's the challenging part, right? Is like
Yeah, we
we'll
just
we'll
don't
never know like some of the concrete details, which I think is fine ultimately, but I think the community wants more transparency in the process, which I don't think we will get.
Yeah, I would
On
agree.
the other
And
hand,
what's that?
I was just gonna say, on the other hand, if this stuff keeps going the way it is, and we do it, say hypothetically, like, oh yeah, we're not gonna get a. What if we keep getting patch changes and things like this, and they're like, wow, we're just kind of a sinking ship. What if we get the Warcraft 3 treatment where they're kind of like, here you go, community. I almost at this point I'm feeling like instead of just having like whatever on there, you have more of an open, like you said, more disclosure. Then you actually have the community involved. We have some great people working on patches. Greener comes up with some different stuff sometimes, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole mess of people, map makers, etc. But yeah, they're not employees of Blizzard, but if Blizzard just kind of like, screw you guys, you get what you get.
Yeah,
And we're not going to tell you anything. I don't know about either of you, but I'd rather at least know the shit we're going to get. If it sucks, all right, well, maybe they can break it more, and we at least have regularly scheduled. We know what's going to happen roughly, right? And we know who's involved, and we know what's coming. You know what I mean?
nice.
That would be the best. That would be the best case, I would say, if we are going to head in this direction of like, okay, we've totally fucked the game up, right? But if we at least bring the old days of like the David Kim kind of feel, where every quarter you'd have a new patch, and oh wait, we got to release a patch next week because my God, you can lift planetary fortresses and bunkers up in a command center. You know, like,
I mean, we're going to talk about that.
2-3 days.
Hey, don't give them any ideas, man. Come on.
Been there,
they're
done
already
that.
hard at work. It feels like. No, I mean, what you just said about like just knowing a schedule, like that alone would be a huge change. We would all love for Blizzard to be like communicating with us constantly and like share what's in their head and anything, but like, man, I would take a bare minimum of just knowing what the schedule for patch changes is.
Am I right? You know what I'm saying? Like we have all right, we have more and more than once a damn year in the shitty PTR that not enough people play on, and that's where they base their data on, and then launch it every time.
Yeah.
Like when we used to have really, more prize dollar tournaments. Like think of what happened in like DreamHack Atlanta many times. Oh, look at this hero wins one, and then immediately after they have like the bigger tournament, and they're like, we're gonna totally change. We're finally gonna update the map pool and do some balance tweaks right now.
Yeah, like in the middle of the run. Yeah, it's like
before like the world championship at Katowice or whatever it was at the time. You know what I mean? It's
like the lack of schedule makes it impossible for tournaments to organize around these things. And then the other thing that I think is really bad about this is the discussion is like totally screwed up by this, because so many people just have no idea. It's like, is this the patch for the rest of the year? Are we going to have another patch in 2 weeks? Like what are we talking about here? Is this going to be our patch for how long? Like that changes how people talk about the patch, Because
Yeah,
if we know that like the deadline is, you know, X date or whatever, end of July, right? Just for example, you know, if we knew that, then we could still actively talk about the patch and discuss the patch, knowing that the last update is going to be on that day, right? And that would affect like how people would feel about things. You know, my opinion on the Zerg larva change would change if I knew that, you know, but we have no idea. It's the crappy part about this.
I think it would be great if we had milestones. Like by this date, there's going to be this patch. But I think that Blizzard's software development life cycle is years and years removed from that. It used to probably be like that, like 2010 to let's say like 2017 or 2019 at best. But ever since the 2019 announcement, you know, it's the intern meme, right?
Yeah. Yeah, people in chat are talking about like what reason is there even to not be transparent about the patches, and like honestly it's kind
so
of hard.
far in the game. Yeah, it's
Yeah. My
I mean,
guess, I don't know. My guess is like from Blizzard's perspective, they're like, what gain do we have from sharing more information about the patches? Because they probably remember like how people reacted to David Kim and Dustin Browder, and like, you know, the shitstorm of hate that they would get. You know, and they're like,
That's true.
why open
That
us
is
up
true.
to that?
that is a fair point.
I think you have to distinguish between like just blind hatred of the patch or like what Blizzard's doing and like objective feedback. And like I'm kind of an author of both of those. I kind of like crossed the line between both of those, like between like trolling and but also like I like to be objective in my feedback, but at the same time I know I'm only like a diamond level player and it's like I could have built more workers, you know? So
Right. Well, let's see. Do we want to talk about TVZ a little bit, or do we want to talk about Protoss?
I'm good with whatever you guys want. I'm fine.
All
I'm
right,
gonna be
well,
a biased,
I think a little
asshole.
bit of TVZ is worth discussing.
PCH already knows like Gabe's gonna go off now. I just already know it. Bro, this is like the quietest I've seen you in a minute. PCH, are you all right?
I don't think it. Yeah, I'm listening and I'm trying to like take my turn and talking. I don't want to interrupt, you know. But
I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
I think Zerg is my best race. But I haven't played a lot of ZVT this patch. I practiced some ZVP yesterday, but I'm trying to think of like how. Actually, never mind. Yeah, the PTR 1, whatever patch that was, the initial 5.0.16. My first game ever was a ZVT, and I think I did. What's the earliest pool? I did an 8 pool, and he got the full wall off, and I was able to macro out of it. But I was like so floored that an already even more all-in build than 12 pool was like you can out macro the Terran from that. So I think the larva change is kind of like a massive book that was just slammed on the table, but initially nobody knew how big that book was, right? Like initially people were like, oh, it's like the larva spawn time increase, like, or decrease, whatever. It's like they felt like it was a tiny little book on the table, but the more that people played the game and like learned the timings and saw how quickly Zerg swarmed, they're like, this is a really big book that hit the table.
Yeah, StarCraft is just a very snowbally game, you know what I mean? Like, you get one advantage early on, and that very quickly scales into a much larger advantage if you know how to do it. You know, it makes a big difference when you change something core about a race like larva spawn rate. Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, Dave, how do you feel about the Reaper build time in TVZ? Is that a pain for you, like getting that initial scout?
I think it's actually forced changes in build. Like, here's the hard thing too. So as much as I complain about the patch and this and that, I've been playing more games and yada yada yada. I think there's been times where we even change the entire build order. Where you even see it in pro players and what we've watched enough tournaments now and playing some games where you can even skip the Reaper now in some cases, and people just blindly build a bunker and 2 Marines. That's a common thing now. So the builds have changed, but it ends up being the same shit. Like, it'll still be like a 2-1-1, or it's still going to be Cloak Banshees. Shocker, the same shit, just slower. The Reaper, I do feel like there was like reasons why they nerfed it at first. Like, oh, metabolic boost won't be in. I'm like, dude, you can hold with Queens. Like, Hello?
Well, it was
Like-
because the Reaper would show up before the Queen was done.
Yeah, that well,
and-
I could see. Yeah, and I can see that,
Yeah.
but it's really not done too much in there in my mind, except for like, yeah, maybe you got some Reaper cheeses. The more I played on it, I mean, I'll still build a Reaper, and it does feel a little weird, but you got to remember, like the take is too now. Like I think the standard third hatch is like 32 supply, or I'll call it like 3 minutes and 4 seconds, somewhere about that time for a standard third hatch. From watching Shin earlier today in Shopify Rebellion's thing, which by the way, I had to leave, but it looked like he was doing everything he could to throw the game, and that's the only way Max Pax could beat him. And he was just like steamroll. And
no.
Shin's a really good player, and I love Shin, but he's usually that layer tech kind of style Zerg, if you guys know what I'm saying. And not to bring up another matchup, but with TVZ, honestly, the overall thing, I wanted to make it a point. I don't know how you feel about it, PCH and Ace. On a Zerg side, but on the Terran side, it really feels like, holy shit, you really got to keep damage on it nonstop, or you turtle in that matchup. You have to get like little bits of damage here and there, at least clear some creep constantly, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're just gonna get rolled. And this time, it's like you have no advantage. Mules are strong, but it ends up being like, it just feels like you just can't produce enough, and you can't. It snowballs fast down that hill.
That's pretty much what I wanted to say about this, because like I'm not gonna lie, my impression is that it feels a lot like 2016 TVZ did to me, where like Terran is just early and mid game is your only shot. In the late game, good fucking luck. Like, so you just need to get ahead in the early and mid game. If you enter the late game and you're on even footing, game's over. Like, you need to be ahead when you get into the late game as Terran versus Zerg now. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about that quite yet. Because there's a big part of me that's like, this is how the game was when I started playing in 2016. And I like it that way. And I think, like, the dynamic of power spikes is actually pretty interesting. And one of the, like, different races or different ways that StarCraft is interesting. Where, you know, Terran has, like, this really big power spike in the early and mid game, and then Zerg has a really big power spike in the late game. So, like, my first impression is that that's not necessarily a problem, but as I'm playing it, I'm like, this could be a problem. Because it's really freaking good. And, you know, it's weird because it's like, on the flip side, the game is definitely still mostly skill-based. As much as we're talking about balance right now, like 99% of the result is based off of the skill of the player still, right? But the influence of balance, like, you can't deny it, especially when, like, the SC2 scene has shrank a little bit. So, like, the names we're seeing are very familiar, and especially even if you're playing on ladder, you're going to recognize the opponents you're facing, right? And, like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm noticing the Zergs that I used to face, and we're all progressing up the ladder together with this new patch, and we're all gaining a bunch of MMR. You know, like, I can't ignore that. You know, is that fine? Is that not fine? Different question, I guess, but I don't know. It's like, it's worth addressing and bringing this up. I'm not going to try to pretend that this is not happening, because it definitely is.
I think there's two different types of players. Like, when a race gets like objectively, obviously buffed, like Zerg has, there's a type of player like you, Ace, who are like, you play Zerg, but you're also at the same time, you're like, you know, this doesn't feel correct here. This doesn't feel right. And then there's other type of players, and I'm not going to pinpoint it on Zerg or a particular race, but it's like they enjoy it, and I don't know if it's like they're choosing to not acknowledge it or whatever the case may be. But you know what I'm saying? There's two different types of players in terms of, like, when a big balance shift happens and that the race that they're playing, they benefit from it. You kind of see the differences in the streamers or like the players that act that way. So
I mean,
I think that
I
going
was
back to
aware of
TVZ,
it on the downside, so I would be a bit of a hypocrite if I wasn't aware of it on the upside. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I was playing Zerg for a very long time, like pretty much since the beginning of HOTS, and probably about a year ago, I pretty much switched to Protoss full time, and I feel like, or maybe even 2 years ago, I switched to Protoss full time, and I feel like I'm a masochist because Protoss just been battered and beaten down so much. I feel like with the storm nerf, like the disruptor nerf, there's been a lot of nerfs, and now the whole identity of Protoss has changed. Where I'm still converting to gateway, but I see a lot of the high level players, they're not using warp gate initially, right? Like they're playing Protoss as Terran, like building out of the faster gates after the thing finishes. Yeah,
It does feel a little bit like reskinned Terran when I see the new Protoss like that. Yeah. It's weird because I mean, that's how it was in Brood War, right? So like, it shouldn't bother me because I played Brood War as a kid, right? That was how I was introduced to StarCraft. But introduced to StarCraft 2 and seeing Protoss with warp gates, and I was just like, that's cool as shit. I don't know. I like that about Protoss. But I can't deny it's really hard to balance. So I understand why they're trying to redesign it. I don't know.
Interesting. I know nothing about Brood War. I've only played a handful of games ever in the past couple years, but maybe based on what you just said, like you said, you played Brood War growing up, and that's how it is for Protoss and Brood War. Maybe that was Blizzard's thinking, or like whoever was working with Blizzard with these patches, that was their thinking. Is they see the success in Brood War, like the Brood War scene has, and they want to help the StarCraft 2 scene with how Brood War is doing. I've heard that Brood War is doing better than StarCraft 2. I don't know the truth to that, but
yeah, I don't really know the numbers there.
It's better in Korea, like, and there, other than like soup and stuff, I think there's a lot of different there's different metrics, and like it's hard. Like even me, you'll go, oh, we're StarCraft's such a dead game, and you think of Twitch. And then you look at YouTube and you're like, there's like, obviously you got like Loco, Euthermal, Baharstam, all those guys, and they technically we have a lot of views. And it's usually after big tournaments, which we don't really have as many, but now it's shockingly like there's any little change. It could be a little one. We have this controversial patch. But going back to that with Brood War feeling, I think they do better in Korea specifically. That's what their metrics on. Yeah. But as a whole, I'm like, I don't know. Now we're in a weird part in StarCraft, right? Just this is somewhere where I'd come from hosting a lot of tournaments and being, you know what I'm saying? Like that's one area I feel like I can bring a little bit of insight into. On maybe you guys follow a lot. We're all StarCraft nerds, but I feel like it's gonna take a while for the community to find its footing, right? Because we're going to, in a way, it might end up better after we if we can solve some of this stuff in the long run. We might end up finding some people with a lot of money that are like, you know what, I really like StarCraft 2, and I'm going to dump a bunch of money in. And we end up in a spot that's not like micromanaged by ESL, and kind of like, honestly, there were things about it in the past that sucked. Like, let's be real. Like, they really did suck. It was cool to have some big tournaments, but you know what I'm saying? The organizers, I've heard of people not getting paid. I made damn sure I got paid.
I remember those. Yeah.
I made damn sure I got paid. I'm like, you can never hire me again, but you owe me money.
The whole meme with like organizations, like, I don't know if it was only, I can't imagine it was only ESL, but probably smaller tournaments too, right? Is like you worked for that tournament in some capacity. You're either a caster or a player that placed in something, and you didn't get paid until like 3 months later.
Yeah, if you know, the thing is 3 months. If you have an agreement though before, like I know OSC works, for example, like that. If the players know and you have an agreement, you're like, oh, okay, I can, or casters or whatever. But if it's literally just like, we're not going to say anything, you think 3 months is long. We're talking, I've heard years for ESL. That's what I'm getting at. I've had screwed the pooch. I actually had something, funnily enough, myself. I ran so many weekly little small dollar things, and I was going through for statistics. I'm like, something bugged me. I go, I got to check back.
You know what I feel like? I feel like we should plug right now, since we're all NA players, is and I kind of disagree with him from time to time, and he probably doesn't view me too well. Is SC Historian is having a tournament. I think it's end of this year. It's called SC for All.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and I think it's a $10,000 prize pool. It's something big like that.
Whoa, nice.
It's a good tournament. Yeah. It's way better than Cheesadelphia, with respect. I love you, Joe. It's upgraded Cheesadelphia by a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that was
That's
the
it. I'm
the
definitely. I'm
NA
likely
home
going to be
story cup
there.
thing. Yeah. No, that's right. I heard about this now. It's coming back to me now. No, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that. That should be super
Yeah,
cool.
I think it's in December. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
December 5th.
Okay,
December
Oh,
5th.
cool.
I found the tweet. I'm gonna link it in the chat right now.
Yeah. That's a good call. I mean, I did the cheese and it was a shit show with mine. And Ahmed actually said too, he's like, yeah, dude, like, even when I was there, I'm like, there was no planning. We had all this gear. They're like, I was told you can't use anything. I'm like, well, what? And then Stego happened to make it in. And I'm like, thank you, Stego. You're my freaking savior. And then like the whole time was just so frustrating. So I'm like, signed up to play. And they're like, Dave, you're up to play. I'm like, I can't even get up. I was like, I give up. And it turned into that. And I'm glad there was so much promise there. I'm like, that year was the biggest year we had in a while for cheese, if you saw previous ones. But the venue's awesome. Everything was good. I'm glad to see Stego. And it's also Stego. It's StarCraft Historian started it. Stego really picked up the pace for production. And let's be real, some money behind it. He's the GOAT. I think it could be a hell of a lot of fun from how they have it now.
It's actually $10,000 for StarCraft 2, and it's $2,500 for Brood War and $500 for StarCraft on Nintendo 64.
That's so cool.
Let's be real,
it's so cool.
Yes!
Yeah.
I love
Let's
it.
be honest. That's cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Oh man, I actually know somebody who played that like as a kid.
I played it.
I didn't even know that existed.
My dad didn't have a PC that I could play StarCraft on. So I brought my Nintendo 64 over because my parents were divorced, and I would bring my N64 and I'd play StarCraft 64. It was my only way to play StarCraft. So
by any means necessary.
Yep.
Oh wow. All right. Well, I think we should probably move on to Protoss now. We've been talking for quite a while about Terran.
Protoss.
Protoss, yeah.
What is this race?
What is this
race?
Where is
this race? More like, where is this race?
Yeah. So, how do we feel about the warp gate changes? You know, how long until we are worried for Protoss? Are we worried already? And then the other thing, I guess, is kind of interesting to me is just how many mothership rushes we're seeing in PvZ right now. And I'm hearing that this is the only good build versus Zerg right now. So, how do we feel about that?
Do you want to start PCH?
PvZ?
Either one.
We're talking about PvZ. Sorry.
I was interested in like mothership
Protoss
rushes
in, general,
in PvZ,
yeah,
and just Protoss in general. How do we feel about Protoss right now?
Protoss in general, I feel like the opener is just like even pros are still talking about it right now. Like Hearthstone posted a video within the past week or so of when to use your first chrono, and Hearthstone thinks it's 7 seconds. Some people think it's immediately as the game starts. Hubsaya has been experimenting with like delaying the chrono in certain matchups like PVT to get a fast Oracle out. So I think unlike not to say the other races don't have to change their openers at all, but like Protoss is just drastically changed, right? Like you can delay your gas a little bit more. You should delay your gas a little bit more with 8 starting workers compared to 12 starting workers. And the question of when to use chrono on probes or production is still being discussed. So I think it's a challenge. Yeah.
Wait.
I'm struggling in PvZ a lot. Like
it's always been my worst matchup personally, but I will tell you, to your point, yeah, it's a struggle bus. Let's be real.
So what you said about the chrono was kind of interesting to me. So, like, are you saying that you're using the chrono, or how should I say this? Delaying the gas because you can take advantage of the chrono earlier because, like, chrono is available at the start of the game and we move the starting worker count earlier. So, you know, like Miro, if he was on the show, he would be talking a lot about how Protoss gets something like 2.5 free chrono boosts essentially from the new patch moving to 8 workers, because like the chrono is still available from the start of the game because they start with energy and they don't have to upgrade the Nexus to get access to it. So the Nexus is gaining energy during that like extra 45 seconds where we're building those extra 4 workers. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, and I've seen Terran players on X or Reddit, I think it was, talk about reduce the cost of orbital command, which is
What?
an interesting proposal because of what you just said, where like, yeah, Protoss can initially use Chrono right away. Like what is
the
what
more
is
logical
what is
thing would be to make Chrono gated behind an upgrade.
Well,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I don't even know like how to play Protoss really. Like I still lose to 8 pool. I know some Protosses like to in PvZ in particular, they like to scout even before pylon to block.
Oh wow.
To hatch block pre-pylon scout is a thing now. I don't even know what to say. I'm so baffled.
It's like the thing is too, as much as we'd complain. Yesterday I had the most fun playing, ironically, right before this, playing Protoss, because I've been also bouncing between Terran playing Protoss. I don't have as much time to play anymore right now, and I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of like when you have time to like actually grind, I don't want to have to sit there and think of the dumbest shit. And maybe it's just me. I will say that is a me problem. Okay, first and foremost, I'll admit it. But to have to rethink just stupid shit, I'm like, to accomplish essentially the same thing. And in fact, there's things to it. Yes, there's difference in things. It's like, yeah, it's nice. I finally found some things against it. What I'm finding, which is bad, I never really was too big on 2 base all-ins as a Protoss. Like, I was either 1 base all-in and macro behind it, or because I'm a scrub, or just play a macro game. You know what I'm saying? And like, you're trying to defend and then deathball. But you know, or whatever, you zealot backstabs, DTs, whatever.
Right.
But the thing is now I the only thing I'm finding that's kind of viable at my shitty level, because I'm like, I'll be honest with you, some of the Zergs I'm playing, I'm like, these are guys I used to steamroll, and they get bitched last patch. I'm talking for years. I'm like, these guys are, with all respect, I can love them dearly, but absolute scrubs. And I'm just like getting bodied by. I'm like, how do you? I'm like, I can't even take a fucking third against these guys. What the? What is this? You know? So I'm like, all right, new gateway change. To try to cook up an 2 base all ends, like my only solution, and you either win or you know what I mean. It's
right.
Roll the dice, baby.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
basically it. And to me, yes, changing builds could be cool, but builds we've had since the dawn of StarCraft, DT Archon, completely gone. The Overseer's flying by your shit before. I tried playing against Pi. Pi and I were playing, and like he doesn't play as often, but he's pretty good Zerg. And he goes, dude, honestly, it felt like there was no consequence to taking a layer, where in the past it's always been. And he literally had an Overseer flying before I even had a Dark Shrine done it. It seemed like we were like, what the fuck?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. To that point, I'd say DTs are kind of gimmicky, but it's more of a whole build. You know, you're not necessarily all in, and you either go, if they have a layer or spores, you build Archons.
Yeah. Then you go into the Archon. Yeah. One of the
It's
reasons
a legitimate
I love that build.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, there's a 6 to 7 minute timing Zerg can do in ZVP with Hydra, and you're pretty much like almost done getting. Yeah, like 6 to 7. I've been hit with Hydra Ling or Roach Hydra.
No, you're right. I did that at the start of the patch. I just remembered. Yeah. Oh my god, yes.
Chat, not unintentional 6-7 reference.
Not
there,
unintentional 6-7.
Yeah. We got to do the hand gesture. Come on, guys.
I was trying not to do it. The chat brought it up. Like, keep it in, Dave. Keep it in.
Yeah. But it actually is a 6 to 7 minute timing that I've experienced where like I'm still establishing my third. It's almost fully saturated. I'm getting my tech up. I'm getting Storm, and it's like Hydras are in my face, and I'm dead.
Yeah, I mean that's the old timing that made them nerf the Hydra upgrade, because it used to be merged.
I mean, it's still.
And then we nerfed it because if you hit before Protoss has Storm, it's like, what can you do versus a Hydra Ling all in like that? It's like you just die.
And 12 workers, the whole thing was 66 drones, right? Like you hard stop at 66 drones, then just pump army to like 140 plus supply. But now, from what I've seen, Zerg can get away with like 55-ish drones on 3 hatch, and
If you're
have
trying to do that Hydra thing, yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
better because then you hit it earlier. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then they can macro behind it, but just before you had to be like dark to be able to do something like that. And the next thing you know, he's got like 6 bases, and you know, and I'm like, wait, so you're telling me this Diamond 2 guy can play like dark now? And to that point, not to switch races, I will say this. You know, it's kind of messed, and I know we all make mistakes, but yeah, especially right now, I've dropped a lot of MMR, and it was before the patch and time, but I do have to air my grievances on this one, and I want to see if you guys think this
Please,
is kind of fucked.
do it.
I'm sorry, it's YouTube, but you should have asked you ahead. You know, you might know, Ace, I have some colorful language.
Oh,
I
good,
hope
man.
it doesn't.
Go ahead.
But anyway, I just gotta say it. It's a fucking horrible feeling when you're playing and you have 2-2 upgrades against 0-0 upgrades, TVZ, and your opponent move commands and you just get wrecked. Move commands, not A moves. What the fuck is wrong?
Just like so
With
many
the picture.
banelings tasteless? Is that what happened? Or like
There were banelings, there were hydras, there were lings, and it might even been ultras. And in fairness, I did have what I found is Terran 2 for me in scrub levels. Don't do it, guys. Well, do it if you want some stuff. Is I always go on. I found Hellbat Marauder can slap on this patch. It depends.
I love
but
that.
Like, because
Yes.
of the economy. That's all I do. PCH knows I was hitting it before, but I found a timing and it hits at just shy of 6 minutes.
Oh, I'm so glad
Yeah.
you said this because that was
When I was
like
playing
even
Zerg,
before
yeah.
this patch, I loved that build. That was my favorite thing to
Yeah.
do versus Zergs when I play Terran. Like 2 factory and then 2 racks on the back of that, and then I get concussive and an armory as I'm moving out. So it hits with blue flame hellbats at like 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh, you're
sorry, it's
flame.
like 4:45. And then if they hold that, then I can just regroup with my marauders that are showing up with concussive. Oh man, it hits like a truck. I love it.
This one
And
is
then Bunny did a 1-1-1 version in RSL last night, and I thought it was awesome. And I'm gonna take notes on that and practice that.
I
when
was gonna
play
say
Terran.
the one I do is actually the OG one. My buddy Yeti cooked on it. He knows all the old builds from forever. You basically open up and Reaper, whatever. I actually cooked and I gotta thank you, Thermal, on this one. At first it worked, but now it doesn't anymore. CC first Hellbat Marauder ended up being horrible, but you economically work out, and it used to be like you said, like 4/3. You know, now it's
Yeah.
you got to add a minute and a half, or a minute to a minute and a half. But it's concussive shell Marauders. You get your Hellions. You drop. Basically, you hide your racks, of course, to get concussive. Drop your armory. You build a Viking first. Medevac. You have 3 Marauders. You keep pumping Hellions, and then after the Medevac, it's a Liberator. So you get a Viking, a Medevac, 3 Marauders. You keep Marauder production. You get stem after. You get the Liberator, and you just push. It's just fucking. You don't just pull the boys or
man.
anything, but and that's where you can drop racks 2 or 3, or you can drop your 3rd CC.
That
Depending
sounds
on the
more
situation.
powerful. Dave, remember? I think it was maybe like 2 years ago or so. I was playing Zerg. We were both laddering and probably streaming at the same time. And I was playing Zerg, and you did it to me. And I was like, "What the fuck?" I had never experienced Hellbat Marauder before, and I got torched by you, man.
You were like, "What the
destroyed.
hell, Dave's Terran?" And I was learning Terran. I'm like, "Yeah, this seems busto," but it's just that Terran's a very much timing attack race. I feel more than everything can be, but now in this patch, I don't know. It's just I like that we're bouncing around a bit, and because we went into Protoss and stuff. I'm just saying, like, it's so different, and I have very mixed feelings, but it kind of goes to that feeling of, okay, warp gate. Like, even if we just we started out with gateways, and you didn't have to pay for the warp gate tax. Just hear me out. That's a big enough change right there too, where if they adjusted it a little more meet in the middle, already that changes the game, because you got to take the time to babysit your warp gates and switch them back and forth and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's, or whatever. Theoretically, that could be the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the warp gate changes are pretty huge, and it's gonna take a while before we really know the full impact of that. Well, let's see. We've been chatting for like an hour, and there's 2 more things I want to talk about. So I'm gonna save the question about Zerg for if we have time, because we've kind of already talked a bit about Zerg just along the discussion here. But there is one thing that we do need to talk about, which is the bugs. Not the Zerg bugs, the other bugs.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I'll just explain for anybody who doesn't know. Which, you know, I hate that I have to raise awareness about this because I don't want people to know about this, but I mean, it's the secret's out, everybody knows. The button, the special load transport button, has some bugs with it, and you can use that bug to your advantage with a lot of different units. For example, the siege tank. If you unsiege your tank and then mash the load all unit button, then at the very last frame of the unsiege animation, the tank will get picked up by the medevac, but the tank is still sieged, like it's a tank evac from 2016. Yeah.
It's back.
And more
It's
than
back,
that,
baby.
You can load 8 of them. I will say there's some caveats. Special has been really cooking on a lot of this stuff, and saying he's like, yeah, it's really not worth it, but it's still a bug. You can pick up 8 tanks sieged.
Yeah.
8. Medic Jr. and I were playing yesterday, and he goes, Dave, you have to see this. And I go, my God, it's still crazy. I'm like, yeah, realistically, if I was playing, he goes, no, just sit there. We're just, I wanted to see it. And it's a sight to see 8 tanks get dropped, boom, sieged. But they can't, the difference between the other one is you can't pick them up when they're sieged at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like
well, you
game-
have
this
to
is like ga-
unsiege them and then get it on the last frame of the animation, which is just not a realistic thing for you to do in
But
a
they can't do
situation.
they can't do pick up drop micro like
Yeah.
the old days.
Exactly.
This is game. Either way, this is a game-breaking bug for sure. I linked
Yeah,
a
it's
picture from this tweet I linked in the chat is from the map makers Discord of
Yeah,
like
let me
a
put
siege
that on.
tank underneath or like a medevac holding one siege tank. But I haven't actually seen a video or a VOD of the actual what Dave just described.
I actually had a clip of it on from my stuff.
I have clips, but they're in my Discord, and I can't get it right now without messing up the overlay.
I will say on that one, yeah. To that note, though, there's more to this bug. The really broken one is the Widow Mine. The Widow Mine one is because you can actually launch a Widow Mine while it's in the medevac.
Yes.
That's more the breaking. Like as Special described it, like yeah, it's definitely a bug. Like it's a pretty bad bug. Altogether, though, it affects everything. Zerg can lift up 8. Now imagine 8 Ultralisks and 1 Dropper Lord.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Somebody, I forget who, somebody told me that a laser put 15
or 15?
ultras in an Overlord. I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
It works. So it works for Zerg. Does it work for War Prism too?
No.
Yeah. No.
Or
no?
does? Not that nobody's seen it, and you can't. I guess the Lurker's the only unit you can't do it with for Zerg. So you imagine Banelings. You can have
Really?
infinite Banelings. You can have.
Interesting. I heard you can do it with Swarm Hosts, and the way, I forget who said this, but the way they said it, it sounded like you could fire the Swarm Host while it's in the Overlord. Does anybody know if that's true?
There's a lot that needs to be tested on this, and I didn't mean to interject on it. Just some of this stuff I did see and do a little testing on it because like all this stuff was like just yesterday. I think that, at least to my knowledge, that this came out with, and some of it, like I guess Pig found the tank thing, or at least was on Pigs first earlier, and then the Widow Mine stuff. Like people are cooking on it, but at the same time, it's like that's the kind of thing one would hope they should bug fix that pretty quickly because of tournaments and stuff.
Somebody in Hubside's Discord just sent the video, and I just uploaded it to X. So this new link now in the chat is the video demonstrating the tank evac one, where it's dropping 8 tanks.
That should be on the stream now.
This is crazy.
Well,
Oh!
hallelujah.
Oh! Oh God! Oh, it's terrifying.
I mean, this is gonna make great content for the content creators, but this is game breaking. Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm glad I got my master's frame back before this was made public knowledge, because I don't really want to queue up for ladder anymore, knowing that this is happening.
I've never been Master League. I peaked like 40. I peaked 43-10 in HOTS and never got Masters. I should just switch to Terran or Zerg at this point and just try to do some
There
of
you
these,
go. There you go.
these bugs.
Yeah,
And
just play Zerg, you know.
And in fairness, PCH, like when you started getting back in, you and I played some. I forgot where it was. It might have been like One Leaf Now's thing or something. We were playing customs, and like you were actually like when you were playing more. I know you kind of like fell off or whatever. You know what I mean? After over time, or we all get busy, and then it's harder to get back. You were pretty sharp. I remember you being a pretty sharp Zerg player. Like even when you were getting back, you didn't think so. But I'm like, nah, man. Like we played PVZ. And I'm like, dude, your macro was on point and stuff. And I'm like, dude, all that prop, yeah, you might as well. It might be an excuse to get back to your main race now. And if they end up fixing stuff, it may not feel so dirty.
I practiced Zerg yesterday with Riki Mallet. Zerg feels like home to me mechanically, but I guess I'm a bit of a masochist wanting to try to main Protoss.
Yeah.
I think the one person we definitely need to give a shout out that brought all of us together for this podcast is Gamer Richie. And
yes,
he runs Ladder Legends. I joined Ladder Legends very early on when they were starting out about a year ago. And they helped me get back into Diamond 1 with Zerg back then, like about a year ago. So definitely shout out to Gamer Richie, Ladder Legends, chatters.
yeah, definitely. Love those guys. I'm probably going to be with them for Chobo Team League.
Nice.
I think we're all just watching this video. The tanks go wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean,
oh man,
that's the kind of thing I truly do imagine they will probably.
Yeah.
Whether or not they said that this is the level of stuff where it's like, yeah, these are very large bugs. I wouldn't imagine it would take too long for them to.
So I do have like one or two things to say about this bug and like whether or not it gets fixed. The first is, God, I hope it gets fixed. And you know, with BlizzCon and classic, you know, StarCraft and SC2 gonna be at BlizzCon, and it seems like Blizzard wants to shine a light on that. You know, if they want to do that, I think they also have to, you know, fix things like this, or it's gonna look bad. You know, because imagine if somebody uses this in a tournament, like that's just gonna look gross. You know, it'd be kind of embarrassing.
A great conversation. What if a pro player did use this in a tournament? Would they be banned or kicked from the tournament, or do you think what would happen? Right?
I mean, pros were using cyclones, were they not? When cyclones were bugged for like a year, which is the other thing I was gonna say. That was around for the entire year, and that was like a massive balance issue. So I'm worried, you know, because if they left cyclones for the whole year, I'm very worried that we might be leaving this for the whole year. Like that is scary.
Like it's up to the TO. Like truthfully, it is up to the TO. There are people that are gonna be like, have fun because it's ridiculous. But the thing is, I can see from watching games earlier with higher level players. I could see the possibility of it happening. This tank one doesn't seem as much as like from watching special play too, where we'll see it is the Widow Mine.
Yeah.
On the Terran side more. It's more like this seems damning to lower level stuff, but if you think about it, you kill that medevac, that's 8 tanks that are down. So like for me, for Protoss, I'm like, this would be the easiest dub. Like that's like GG. You know what I mean? Like you just have 5 stalkers and you're like, okay, bye. You know what I mean? Or some phoenixes or what have you. But Zerg Queen spores, it might be a little, I don't know, but basically how it matches up, you're just gonna think you're literally like all your eggs in one basket, unless you maybe split up different medevacs with different, you know, if you're playing that Beyond style. I could see Beyond really freaking cooking on this one with. You know what I'm saying, guys?
You could probably really... have 2 medevacs, like one on either side, and like whenever the Widow Mine's on cooldown, he's going.
I think Euthermal actually. I think Euthermal made
TY out of retirement.
True.
Okay, yeah. Euthermal today posted a short. Yeah, I'll link the Euthermal short here. He posted a short. I think it's the same thing with the tank thing.
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Yeah, it's him actually doing it.
Has introduced the most ridiculously game-breaking bug yet. Check this out. At first glance, you might think this is footage from a very old patch where medevacs could carry a sieged tank. Wrong. This is something
I'm not by no means am I defending. It's broken.
The current patch carrying 8 sieged tanks. A new bug now allows you to load in siege tanks by using the new load nearby units button while tanks are sieging, allowing you to get insane positions.
Can you pick them up, or you can only drop them?
No,
Well,
yeah, that's the thing. Is it's not like the original tank
You can
evac where you
now
could do
load
pick up drop micro. It's literally
Yeah.
once they're dropped, you have to unsiege them,
I see.
which
Okay.
does make it so it's
Yeah.
not.
Not as severe, but it's still pretty bad. Yeah.
That
As
would
my
be insanely
understanding
all
is
in
it's
though,
like-
if you think about it. Like that's a lot of resources to lose one. You lose that medevac, that's game.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think for pros, I don't think we'll see that. But the Zerg ventral sack shit, I guarantee you they're gonna like. I was watching Shin do it earlier today in the Shopify show match thing. It was like on Hearthstone stuff. It was like not fully like he went like one extra on a Hydra, but it was hilarious to see him getting like he got like 11 or 12 worker kills or more with a random ass ventral sack Hydra drop on max packs. 5 Hydras, like 13 worker kills in the late game. And it's literally, if you watch the game, Shin did everything he could to throw that game. Like he just was like, he seemed like max packs was going to get rolled, and then Shin just made every mistake you could. That's how, if it feels like it's a little broken there, I'm like, refer to this game, guys. Max packs won, but how?
I'll have
What
to
I like
watch
about-
that one.
What I like about Shin as a player on the social media side of things is he, like, very early on with the patches, is he's been very like vocal about I think what a lot of people have been feeling, this tweet in particular. So I'll just read it. He said, this is back from June 30th. Shin said, making balance changes just 1 week later is a good sign, but I'd really like to see comments explaining why each change was made, why something was buffed or nerfed, and what the intended goal is. Right now, it's hard to understand the developer's vision behind these changes. And I'm really happy to see a pro actually like speaking up out like in this way.
Yeah.
I think more pros need to speak up in this way, because their voices are heard much louder than ours. And maybe they're in this like direct communication with Blizzard. We don't know, but I'm happy to see stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. That's super important.
I mean, they all are having their comments. Like, I mean, I was watching Clem yesterday, and he was like, he definitely, and anytime you see him in Twitch chats, he's like, he's not loving the patch, to say the least.
I had a streamer friend attend Home Story Cup, Infestor X, and he was there with another streamer friend, Ariki Mao, and in Infestor X's Discord, he was sharing pictures from Home Story Cup, like he played poker with Rotterdam, and I asked him in his Discord, just publicly, I was like, hey man, did you get a chance to ask the pros what they think of the patch? And he said they all don't like it. That was his response of what he heard from pros. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen, but
Yeah, a little bit of a strange time for StarCraft right now.
I do
don't
think
know.
there are some, as weird as it is, there are some, technically from what I remember hearing about stuff originally from the last patch, the only time I was in, and I did talk to Omni about it, there was a lot of, even beforehand, there was, I didn't mean to bring up any, whatever, I'm not talking, throwing shade or anything. There was definitely some like NDA crazy weird shit that Blizzard had. Whoever does the access to they basically have like a locked out kind of way you can go, like when they have map publishing, they disabled map publishing for a long while, like too long in my opinion, where like map makers couldn't even test things. To actually make it live on the ladder, it's some crazy backdoor thing, but if you're doing anything to it, you need to like sign your soul away to do it. I know that much, but from there I don't know what, what I mean. Obviously I know absolutely nothing. And I could be wrong, but even Roddy seemed like he was shocked by the change. You'd think he would know something, and he's like, what the fuck? Like that just rolled out. He's like, huh? Apparently we got a new patch.
I was watching Roddy stream, and he was playing a PvZ on ladder, European ladder. It was within this past week or so. And Roddy's like well above 5K type of player. He was playing a 4-9 Zerg. No, it was a 4-4 Zerg. And he barely held against a 4-4 Zerg. I don't know if you guys saw that stream.
Yeah.
And he was like, guys, this
crazy.
chat was like, this is crazy. This is a 4-4 Zerg, and Rotterdam's like former pro player. He's like a 5-5 plus kind of player, you know, and that's kind of shocking.
That is very shocking. The other thing that I wanted to mention about like giving reasoning behind the patch notes, like I think it's really helpful. Also, like you have to keep in mind over time when we look back in the past about like why did we do this change or that change, like we're not going to remember the context of that time anymore. It's really hard to like put yourself in the mindset of like what was the game like in 2018, for example. You know, like we have like vague ideas of it, but if you've ever tried looking over the patch notes from the past, like if they don't explain why they're making the changes, it's like sometimes you read the changes and you're like, what is this? Like
It's
you know,
hard.
years later, it's like it's way harder to figure out.
From hosting tournaments for me, gave me a different way of looking at it, because I would be like, all right, I'd be talking about it, observing it from the pros, and then laddering after too, and then whatever. But usually I'd stick to more like the Protoss side. I can objectively think back to 2019, say, or before that. I forget, it gets murky before then, you know, like all of us. It's a long fucking time ago, right? But you can kind of, if you really got to sit back and think about it, and I can go, I remember when this change happened. The exact values, fuck no. But you know what I mean? It's like, you think of all these changes they made over time across the board, right? And you're like, well, okay, like you said, in terms of documentation, now going back to revert those, they're like, oh, we just fixed that. Well, they forgot about X, Y, and Z that happened beforehand, and see, it's reverted. No, it's not. Like, they're like, oh yeah, the disruptor got buffed. I'm like, the disruptor didn't get buffed. It got technically brought back, and it's still nerfed from base value of the disruptor before, for example. The disruptor used to be pretty strong, and now it's like, it's strong. I'm not going to deny it, but is it the disruptor? Hell no. You know what I mean? It is not.
Yeah, like the context, it just gets lost so easily if you don't actually explain what the changes are for and what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, I think that it would help a lot if they 100% doing that again.
Agree.
Isn't there a project that Zombie Grub has been working on, or did she finish it, where she like outlined the entire timeline of StarCraft 2, like from start to present day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's like making a book out of it or something. I forget.
You could make
she's
a book
doing
out
something
of it.
with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's been that much change since Wings of Liberty that you literally could make a book of it.
I thought that was pretty cool because for a while, you know, as somebody who came in at Legacy of the Void when it started, I missed Wings and Hots, and I would hear from all my friends about all the history.
I'm with you, brother. I, like PCH, didn't play Brood War. I was not into the competitive side. I had the freeware version of Wings of Liberty for a while, and at the time, I'm like, I just didn't have time. I really wanted to play StarCraft 2, but I used to play with friends, like IRL friends.
Right.
And we'd play like team games and Brood War and stuff. So I'm like, oh, so I guess it's really no point in me buying StarCraft 2 right now. Eventually, I wanted to, because as I was playing, I liked playing Terran and Brood War, but I was, you know, as a scrub, we'd play for fun. You know what I mean? Like, as it should be. But is it really fun when we're laddering? We play for fun anyway, but it's the only game that feels like you're not, let's be honest, in any case, in any brokenness, is anybody truly playing StarCraft 2 for fun?
I play it for the adrenaline.
Speaking of fun, I've been to a lot of in-person tournaments. My first in-person tournament was MLG Orlando in 2011. Finals was MC Huck. And the feeling, I know like tournaments are far and few between now, but like the feeling of in-person tournaments is just so great. Like the vibe is so great as a fan, but even as a amateur player, like I started out in the very bottom of Bronze League, and seeing the pros physically play in person, nothing has improved my play better than that, where you actually physically see how they use the mouse and keyboard, like how they're doing their mechanics, and you're like, wow, I really am bad at this game. So if you guys have a chance to go to SC, I'm now even considering going to I wasn't even thinking about going to that tournament we had talked about earlier, the SC for All.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that too, because I was like, man, you know, I would love to go to Home Story Cup or something, but it's just like so expensive. But if it's, if it's in the US, it's
Philly's honestly, it's a good time. Like at least when I was there in December, I hope it's not too bad. Like I have to drive, so my thing is like I have some other stuff too. I'm rolling the dice on whether I go or not, because December 5th could be, if it was like this winter this year, I could be snowed in up here in Utica, and it's only 4.5-hour drive, but that 4.5-hour drive could be pretty, you know, the weather could put a stop in it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but I would recommend it to both of you guys, because I didn't even go. The first thing we had was awesome. It was better last year when it became SC for all, for sure. And now this one's probably going to be. They got Roddy and Zombie Grubcast, and I guess Bayo's in on it, and Tempo's there. It's in his, well, kind of in his backyard,
Tempo.
I suppose. Oh, dude, Tempo's the best, man. He's probably the nicest guy. Just there's not a bad bone in that guy's body.
No.
Like, period.
You can just tell from listening to his music.
Dude, you meet him, he's just
man.
like that. He's just like naturally that nice of a guy. It was he's probably the coolest of the OGs that I met. And I will say this too, Artosis is going to be there too, and you might find when you meet him, he's way different in person than on his stream, as you can imagine.
No way. I'm shocked.
Literally one of the chillest dudes you can meet.
Yeah, I would imagine.
You mean he's not into all those TTS?
Yeah. So even when we look at people from their like, oh, they're their content, they're streaming, they're whatever, and even at those points in the like Artosis is a freaking legend. Let's be real. Like, all the memes of Tasteless and Artosis, I will say, certain ones have different personality vibes, at least to me, but I like that everybody was generally pretty cool. You got to hang with Robbie. I've never met Robbie. I've wanted to, because I'm like, I just want to talk guitars with Robbie. Admittedly, that's all. But that's about it. Like, it's just all these people. Generally, like anybody, it's just generally when you get people in person. I had one guy admit to me that he was a stream sniper, and he said, I go, bro, that's not cool, but that's good on you for admitting it. And he admitted it to my face.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I respect it. When you see people in person, it's amazing what changes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get that. You're
That's
like, we all like the same shit. Like,
wait, so did he stream snipe you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense. Yeah. So he like saw you in person. And he was like, oh, fuck, I feel bad.
And he felt bad about it.
Yeah.
This is a sick podcast episode for Ace. Episode 15. We need the stream sniper. We need the voice changer. And we need to like either put a bag over their head or like blur their face, Yeah. Like so many people would watch like a stream sniper episode, like getting inside the mind of a stream sniper.
Like barcodes and stream snipers, and we just like ambush them and get them to come on the show and don't tell them that it's going to be all their ladder opponents or the other guests.
Oh man, yep.
All right,
a specialized ladder for that, yeah.
Do we okay? Do we have time for a little bit of Zerg discussion here about? I mean, I know we've been kind of talking about this a little bit throughout the show, but how OP is Zerg, and is this an issue? And I guess I'll preface this with a little bit of my personal experience, because I'm definitely biased here. But I'll say, gosh, probably like 2019, I think. Whenever the battlecruiser was buffed, whenever they gave it move and shoot and the teleport and all that stuff, whenever that happened, I got masters. So that was when I like first got masters, and it was I got it for like 7 seasons, and then I stopped playing StarCraft. Basically, like my interests, and I just didn't have time. And then Zerg was also getting nerfed, and it was like not fun. It just felt like I was playing the punching bag race, and just watching myself decline, and I'm like, I stepped away from StarCraft for a while, right? Came back to it, a couple years ago, and I've been, kind of progressing, but a little bit hard stuck, if I'm being perfectly honest, between about 3,800 and like 4K. Then this patch hits, and I'm masters again in like a week. But also, I have been, hanging out in Ladder Legends and talking to Gamer Richie and chatters and all those folks, and, learning a lot about, better, like my biggest problem was my mentality, because, Zerg being nerfed super hard, like I was just not handling that very well. So helping with my mentality a lot, it's like I was definitely pushing my peak before the patch hit, and then the patch hit, and it was like, now I'm far past my peak, So that's my experience there. But then also I'm noticing a lot of, you know, the Zerg opponents who I used to play in ZVZ, they're also progressing a lot in MMR. And, you know, I'm beating players who are like 43, 4400, and it does not feel super challenging. It's a tough game, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going, oh my god, how did I win that? You know, I'm like, that was a good game, I played hard and I won. You know, like, so that's, I don't know, it's kind of weird for me because it's like, Zerg definitely lost, I feel like, we all lost over the course of a few years, like 400 or 500 MMR because of nerfs due to Serral, you know? But now it's like overnight Zerg gets like 500 MMR. And, you know, I can completely understand how Terrans and Protosses right now are looking at that and being like, I'm sorry, what? How is that okay? Like, that's BS. Like, Zerg getting like 500 MMR boost? Like, what is this? It's like a login, free MMR login bonus. It's kind of crazy, you know? So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I like to look at things objectively, as it's difficult to do that, but like I've been looking at various Zerg, like high-level Zerg player accounts on Pulse, mainly like ones that stream, and I don't want to call out like any certain names, but like there's at least one high-level Zerg that's always streaming, and I try to look at the graph on SC2 Pulse of like what's their average MMR, what's their current MMR, and how does the graph look, right? And I think if there's enough data points of that, and you're not just looking at like, you need a really big sample size, I think, to get a big picture of this. But I think that's what one of them. There's so many data points, and that's the challenge, right? Is there's so many data points to try to like paint a picture of what you're saying. So, but that's what I've been looking at recently.
I've been looking at a lot of it, as you have, and I've been. That's funny. Like most of us, it's amazing how many people are just like aligned on this now that wouldn't be in the past. When Ruff and Hump are talking now is pretty funny on Twitter. For example, it's like cats and dogs getting along. It's like end of days shit, you know? Like
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I think Ruff reposted something of Hup just today.
Yeah.
No way.
It's crazy. It's getting
story.
nuts.
Yeah, it's just like my point is this though too, something that we don't talk about, and as much as I'm like, yeah, it's not fun, and like, we go through this stuff, at the same time, it hasn't been out long enough really for people to like the PTR. Nobody was dead. Like, you try to play games, you're playing a bronze player, you could be playing a Masters 2 player, you could be Diamond League, and you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different ladder pool too. So nobody really got a get in that. The PTR kind of sucks in that regard, because it's like, how do you get a fair? You're just getting people doing dumb shit all the time, right around. It's my first point. Second point is, in all of our bitching all across the board, we do have to admit this thing was just dropped. Broken or not, they need to tweak it. I think many of us are all in. It seems like we're all in agreement it does. But enough changes took place that we all like. It's mostly the same, but I feel like when Clem's debating whether 13 or 14 gas is better, that's how early we are in. And if we were stuck with this, the only way forward is you either give up or you have to relearn everything. And to that point, it's like, well, for a while you'll see a bunch of resurgence, all these Zergs coming back, and then I give it 2 to 3 months, and then it's just gonna at tops. It's gonna have the Stormgate effect, right? With all respect to any few that do, but it's literally going to go like, all right, oh yeah, the hype, and then it's going to go like, holy shit, this sucks. And I don't think StarCraft 2 is ever going to fully, like, it's kind of a dead game, but it's not. It's a community driven game now. Like, let's be honest. You can never compare it to League of Legends or something, and fuck League, forgive me, but you know, it's just it's what it is. And I really hope they consider maybe reverting, but I think we all, you know how it's been. Every year it's the same fucking thing. They just kind of release whatever, and we're stuck with shitty whatever shit. And I'm going to be negative Nancy and say, I hope we get some patches, but I don't think we're going to head there.
I have the same feeling. I hope we get a patch, but I've been seeing everybody speculate. When is the next patch going to hit? Is it, some people are coping, it's in a week, it's in 2 weeks, and I've seen as far out as a year. I think at this point, how long have we had the 5.0 to 16? It's been about a month now, almost a month.
Thereabouts.
Since the first one, I think about a month. Since
and if you
the
guys,
recent one in like 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Yeah. The Hearthstone interview with Tim Morton, Hearthstone said that the Blizzard process for classic games is they rotate classic games every, is it 6 or 9 months, something like that, where the classic team at Blizzard will work on, let's say, Warcraft 3 for a handful of like a month or so, and then they'll move in 3 months or like they'll move on to the next game. So if that's true, then we may not see a patch for a year or even longer. And
I think it's going to follow that year model. Cause the least we know, God willing, Blizzard, aka Microsoft and Xbox, they're firing people left and right. So it's not just what we're talking about. We're talking Bethesda, id, etc. You know what I mean? Like everything Microsoft picked up, and surely we've never seen anything bad like Windows Vista, for example, or ME or Windows 8, right?
Vista, yeah. Did you guys see the Basilisk? They posted a video of like right after Home Story Cup. I think it was Cyril and Rainer were eating at a restaurant, and they were talking about the patch. They were talking about Zerg in particular, and Cyril was memeing like, "Hey, at least you didn't get second place this time." And then Rainer asked Cyril about the larva change, and Cyril said something to the effect of like, the larva change doesn't really affect me.
I remember that.
Because my macro is so good and I have extra larva anyway. Like that's how good he is. He's like, the patch doesn't even affect me at all.
Yeah, like I think Rainer was like trying to play it up, and then Sarah was like, "Nah, I mean, you only really benefit from it a little bit in the mid game." I thought that was super interesting.
Daryl always has a pretty. He can even really think it. He is like that guy has the best poker face. Let's be real. Like Cyril really well, unless you factor in Kira's stoic look of never changing face. Kira Maru, the emotions of a Terran.
Yeah, even his interviews during Home Story Cup on the couch, right? Like they were trying to pick his mind of like certain decisions that he was making. Like Elazer was asking him questions, and he was very candid, but also like very stoic too. That's just how he is.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I think that's just part of his personality, just how he thinks about the game. I don't know. I do think that's interesting though.
It's funny seeing like another point of this on the gist of it. Like a player I really like personally, even though he is a Zerg, he's a cool guy. Really nice guy, all around good player for all races and RTSs for his level. In general, is Mixu. But when Mixu is really making Beyond sweat and Beyond's pre-patch now and whatever, that's kind of telling right there, in my opinion.
That's
I could be wrong, but there's a bit of a skill gap. I'm not saying Mixu's bad. I'm saying like there's a little skill gap, I would imagine, between Beyond.
Yeah,
just a little bit, right?
Yeah, because I mean, like I was watching, RSL and GG Machine versus Beyond.
Yeah,
and Beyond just like he picked him apart with multi-prong, and GG Machine just like couldn't keep up, right? But then I'm also watching it knowing what I know about Zerg and TVZ, and I'm like, if GG Machine would just like not be so stubborn and like make Aspire and like do something about these medevacs, rather than being like, I'm just gonna split perfectly and always be ready to defend. Like if he would actually commit to shutting down the medevacs, put up some spores, get some extra queens, he'd be fine. But like he didn't do that, And then like later on, it like carried into the later game because like he gets Infestors out and he's going to Ultra and he's starting to push Beyond back. But when he gets the Fungals, like Beyond's already in the medevacs, and now he has no anti-air, so it's like, cool, you fungled the whole army, but now it's in the medevacs and you can't touch it, and you kill nothing. Like, those are easy mistakes to correct, So it's like, if he just corrects those easy mistakes, like, suddenly he's going toe-to-toe with Beyond, right? So, I don't know, like, I think the evidence of Zerg might be a little too strong. It's starting to stack up. It's still super early, so it's hard to say, especially because I think Terran and Protoss being aggressive races, it's going to take a little longer to like fine tune the timing attacks and find the new builds and stuff. But,
my only hope is SOS or the return of Haas, and they find something absolutely disgustingly broken. SOS is my spirit animal. I'm just going to say
SOS.
I was memeing about similar in one of Hub's streams saying, what if Hitman came back? You know, what if like a giga cheesy Protoss came back from like early Wings days and like
they found some at all.
Hitman was like a giga Protoss chooser in Wings, and like what if like that type of player came back for any race really, and
I will tell you,
innovated the game.
I'll tell you one thing I'm happy about for Protoss when I'm playing. I'm like, dude, if we're in a dog shit spot, guess what's back on the menu, boys? Proxy Voidery every game. Let's go. Except for Zerg. I got to figure out my Zerg thing. And that just made me happy. They buffed and nerfed the far field shield battery. So you have 75 energy max, but it starts with 75 energy. So it's a buff and a nerf. But I would say, let's just bring it back to 12 workers and fuck this shit. It sucks.
I think that's most
I'll be real talk. It's just object. Can I give you? I've been talking too much. I'm sorry, PCH. I did have some actual objective things that if they go forward with this stuff or different things, if they're like, okay, we're on lower workers. What if we went to 10 workers and what if they met the supply reduction by 50% and the gas? Just fucking bring the gas back to the way it is. Why did the only race really in the super late game that it's going to help? More than Terran even, which usually doesn't, but in late game TVZ, is Zerg. Zerg can link flood at the end, and then after it's like Marines versus whatever Banelings. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just some things that are just, in my opinion, seem like it makes it easier for build orders that you're used to for all three races, honestly, in my opinion. The supply, the command structure, supply, and the gas. At the least.
While we're kind of on the topic of Mixu versus Beyond, I was curious because I try to look at stuff objectively when I can, and I don't know their current MMR. So just for a point of reference, right now on EU, Mixu is 6,111 MMR.
Yeah, he's good.
If you look at Beyond, he on EU, same server, he has two different counts that are 6.3. So we're only talking about a 200 MMR difference. But I think at the highest level of GM, like for us, 200 MMR is not that big of a deal, but at the tippy top of GM, like 200 MMR is a massive difference.
It's a hard.
But you also got to look at
and Hop had a great point too. Like the ping is crazy too.
Yeah, you're talking Korea to EU with a VPN. It's VPN or not, it's not the same experience. And I would objectively say it to a certain point, ladder doesn't, it seems like a ladder doesn't matter as much as long they'll actively play, they'll custom, they'll whatever, they'll snipe each other because it's the only way to get practice. But when it comes down brass tacks, when you look at it, it's the tournaments.
Yeah.
It's the standings in the tournaments. Like, beast. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is what you really can base their performance on. You know what I mean? It's the kind of, not just put the money where your mouth is. It's like just looking back historically. And I'd even agree and say, yeah, at times over the past couple of years, seeing like Protoss stack stuff. I also said like from some of the patches too, though, I'm like, yeah, Protoss get the scraps of all the, hey, here's a $50 tournament. Here's a $100 tournament. Here's like whatever. And they'll do well. But then when it comes down to like a substantial amount of money, you do the math and all that money. It's like, okay, here's like 20 grand. Here's 30 grand. When it comes to a tournament, that's like $500,000. Who's going to win it? The guys that never played. They say it's win. Yeah, Cyril, or you'll see people that didn't play all the time, and magically they appear. They didn't play in any of these tournaments, and they place very well. It's almost like, you know, even with the nerfs, like they would bitch and moan, and then they go show up, and they always end up winning some decent.
So Cyril's main account right now has 68 games at 7,065 MMR right now. Like I guarantee each of us have more than 68 games this season.
Yeah, a lot more.
So should we should all just, the key is we should all just switch to customs, and we should just play customs.
That's the answer. He practices ZVP versus AI, if I remember right. I don't know if he still does that, but at one point he said that he opens up and he plays against the one that gets like cheater extra resources or vision, I think. And then and he plays against like 4 like cheater AI Protosses at the same time.
And that's like a warm-up.
It's insane.
I mean,
One other thing I did want to say. Another thing that's interesting about like upsets right now in StarCraft that we kind of have to keep in mind, I think, is just that, like, this sucks to say, but like we have to acknowledge that the StarCraft 2 scene is like smaller than it was in the past, and like as the scene shrinks, like upsets are going to become more common, and like the like compression of skill level is going to get tighter, because like when there's less people for you to face, like you start getting more regular practice against the top pros. So I feel like the pro scene is kind of like condensing in skill level a little bit. Like the range in skill is not as wide as it used to be.
And all these and the underdogs of the around 6K range have all been improving a lot. Like you think about over time, it's like if people continue to grind, you'd think they would improve. And I mean, I watched for years. It seems like it's a really, really hard at the highest. You know, once you get to that 6K range, that's where it's kind of like when you go through the tier from Diamond to Masters, right? That smaller gap becomes that big of a gap, as you guys both said, at the highest level. You know, right? When you go from 6 to 6,500, that's a massive thing. 6 to 6,200 is, but you know, it's like Hup mentioned too. It's really, when it comes down to it, with that level, you start thinking of Ligulac and I'm just kind of agreeing with you there. These people are also getting better. There's less players. The underdog yesterday could become a little better and start pulling some upsets. Balance aside, yeah, I agree with that anyway.
And the the more established players who have like really successful careers, like be realistic. Their motivation is less than somebody who's an up and comer.
Yeah.
I think that the upsets are less crazy than people are giving them credit for, just because of the state of StarCraft 2 right now. But I'm not trying to discount them and say that they don't matter, because they definitely do. Anyway, I think it was important to have context.
I was told there was free beer. I'm teasing, Ace. I had to get one on you.
That's the after show, bro. Come on.
Good. But I think that that probably is a good place for us to close things off here, unless we have any other pressing matters we need to address or bring up, any points we want to.
Low key, I'm starving. Like, to be real talk here. I have steak to get on the grill and some zucchini to cut up and all that stuff. So
yeah, I think it's time to go. Thank you all both for showing up. I really appreciate it. This was awesome discussion. And I really appreciate getting more Terran and Protoss thoughts, because I'm Zerg and I'm always here, and I think people might be getting sick of that right now, especially with Zerg being so strong. So I was doing my best to shut up and let you guys talk, and I hope people enjoyed. Thank you both for showing up.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
All right, and I want to thank everybody watching now in the future as well. If we missed anything, let us know in comments below, and we will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.